Hello, my loves, and welcome back for another video. I'm so excited for today's video because I just really think everyone should learn this at some point in their life. And when I learned it, it absolutely changed my life. So, today we're going to be talking about how to cope with feelings and emotions, how we currently cope, a better way to cope, and I'll be sharing my own story of how I learned all this. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. For some context, the context I give every video, I went through an emotionally abusive relationship for a few years of my life, and now it's been a few years. I've learned a lot. I'm not anywhere near where I was when I got out of it, thank the Lord, and now I talk about it in hopes that it will help one of you guys. So today, I'll be sharing the story of how I learned to cope with my feelings. Basically, when my emotionally abusive relationship of 2 years ended, I had no idea how to cope, right? I couldn't even begin to understand the range of emotions I was feeling, from grief to desire to longing to anger to shame to, oh my gosh, you name it, I felt it, right? I was absolutely consumed by my own emotions and I needed relief. I needed them to stop. I needed to understand them. I needed something because I was suffering. So I did what any other college student would do in my shoes, and I turned to alcohol. I feel like I shouldn't laugh while I say that. No, but in all actuality, I literally started heavily drinking. Also, keep in mind this was a perfectly socially accepted response to a breakup, so I didn't even see an issue with it. I started going out to my local college bars probably 5 to 6 times a week and drinking to the point of blackout. I'm getting really vulnerable today, guys. So yeah, yep. And what's more is I actually made a best friend at the time who was also going through a breakup and who also felt like we should drink to cope with our feelings. And there's no shame in how I responded. And if you're in this, nobody teaches us what to do in the situation, and feelings are all consuming. So, of course, I'm going to drink, right? And, anyways, meeting my best friend, love her to death. We enabled each other so hard. It was so bad, right? So, I'm going out to my bars 5 to 6 times a week, drinking to the point where I can't even speak properly. I can't stand properly, sending so much love to my younger self. But yeah, I mean, most nights we had no idea where we ended up, how we ended up there. And you would think, right, that like, this seems unsafe. Maybe you guys shouldn't do that. But no, we would simply just wake up, laugh, get bagels, and do it all again. I can't help but laugh thinking about it because what the fuck? Okay, but anyways, we did that for months and like an entire semester basically, and until I got bronchitis. I was so down bad. My coughs were like 10 seconds long. I thought my lungs were gonna come out of my chest, right? I'm down horrendous. And I hit this wall and I go home for Christmas break, I think it was, and I realized, oh, I can't live like this anymore. This is going to kill me. Like genuinely. I know it's socially condoned, which is pretty insane. But if I continued on the way I was drinking that semester, bad things would have happened to me. So, needless to say, it was a pretty harmful, ineffective approach to dealing with my feelings. And it wasn't until I found this book, it's called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, and it changed my life, quite literally. So, this is one of my all time favorite books. I have about 3 to 4 books that I will recommend every time, that basically all my videos are based on the knowledge that I've gotten from them. So if you're interested, go get it. It's a great book. The first thing I realized and could see in my own situation was that we all try to avoid our feelings. David Hawkins writes, if we take a close look at human life, we see that it is essentially one long, elaborate struggle to escape our inner fears and expectations that have been projected upon the world. Interspersed are periods of celebration where we have momentarily escaped the inner fears, but the fears are still there waiting for us. We have become afraid of our inner feelings because they hold such a massive amount of negativity that we fear we would be overwhelmed by it if we were to take a deeper look. We have a fear of these feelings because we have no conscious mechanism by which to handle the feelings if we let them come up within ourselves. Because we are afraid to face them, they continue to accumulate, and finally, we secretly begin looking forward to death to bring all of the pain to an end. Guys, when I say my jaw dropped when I read that, like my jaw was on the floor. Just reading that. That's like the beginning of chapter 2. My brain began to spiral because keep in mind, I'm literally engaged at this point in an elaborate struggle to escape my fears and my feelings and my emotions. And what really resonated with me about, ooh, birds, we have friends. Anyways, what really resonated with me in that quote is the idea that we have a fear of our feelings because we have no conscious mechanism for which to handle those feelings if we let them come up. That was what hit me the hardest because, I mean, think about it. Like, why do we avoid our feelings? It's because we think that they're going to eat us alive. Like, I genuinely thought that if I sat with my feelings, like, they would kill me. They seem like this monster lurking in the shadows that's going to, like, eat you whole. So you have to keep running. And so when he said that, I was like, wow. And I started kind of spiraling, like, wow, so is it really that I'm just afraid to face my feelings? Is this true? Like, because I was very low. I was thinking about death, which, sorry, trigger warning, but I was thinking about it. I was never going to do it, but right, I was looking forward to it. And I thought, is there a conscious mechanism for us to handle them? Like, can I live differently? So, obviously, kept reading. David Hawkins dives into 3 main ways that we handle our feelings in today's world. They are suppression and repression, expression, and escape. And I'm going to go into all 3 briefly. But if there's anything at all that I talk about that you don't feel like I covered enough, please leave a comment down below. I'm happy to make so much more content about this because, again, this is what has changed my life. And I really feel passionately that if more people had this knowledge, we would literally live in a better world. So, going into the first method that many of us use to deal with our feelings, that's suppression and repression. Both of these are ways that we try to avoid feeling our feelings. We try to push them away and just pretend like they don't exist. The only difference is that suppression is a conscious pushing away of feelings, while repression is unconscious. It happens because there is so much guilt associated with a feeling that we don't feel like we can even take a look at it, right? So we repress it. And I mean, let's be real. Feelings can be so inconvenient sometimes, especially like if you're in a meeting or like class or you just can't handle those feelings in that moment. Feelings can be extremely inconvenient. And again, we don't really know what to do with them if they come up. So these are methods that we just kind of try to push them away and suffer through them as best we can to keep functioning as best we can. So once we suppress or repress our feelings, we have to keep them suppressed and repressed, especially with repression, because like I said, with repression, there is so much guilt that we can't even look at it. We spend so much energy repressing and suppressing our feelings, and it continues to take more and more energy to do so. And one of the best ways that we keep feelings repressed is through denial and projection. Basically, denial and projection is where we will deny that a feeling exists within us and instead project it out onto the world. So we may find some enemy, whether that's a person, a place, an institution, political leaders, political rivals, climate, God, the devil, luck. We find someone to blame, an enemy, which allows us to keep it out of our own consciousness. So that is suppression and repression. Next is expression. This is one that people really advocate for. This is like talk therapy, venting about things, somehow letting out your feelings through expressing them through words, body language, whatever it is. And there is a misbelief that expression is a beneficial way, an effective way to deal with our feelings, that expressing your feelings actually frees you from your feelings. However, when you vent about something or talk about it, you're actually giving it more energy. So you're propagating that feeling and keeping it going. And second, it does let out some pressure of the feeling, but only enough that the remainder of that feeling can be suppressed. We get this belief that it's good from Sigmund Freud, who said that suppressing our feelings was the cause of neurosis. So we went ahead and assumed that expressing those feelings would then be the opposite, the cure. However, what Freud actually said was that a repressed impulse or feeling should be neutralized, sublimated, socialized, and channeled into constructive drives of creativity and love and work. Dumping our feelings, our negative feelings, onto someone else only causes that person to feel attacked, which they will now have to also figure out a way to deal with the emotions, probably through one of these three methods that we're talking about. And ultimately, it causes deterioration of a relationship. The third and final way that we deal with our emotions is escape. And I know this one personally. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this one personally. Think entertainment, think liquor, think workaholism. This one is so especially socially condoned. It's crazy. When you are going through something hard, you stay busy. And we actually think that we're dealing with our feelings and getting through them effectively by staying busy. This is not true. External pursuits and keeping busy allow us to avoid facing our inner feelings, our inner selves, and our inner emotions. And by doing that, we actually grow an addiction, a dependency on that external pursuit, because we become more and more scared to actually face them as we distract ourselves from them. And another great example of this is our phones. It's like every free moment we once had is now taken up. You sit down to go to the bathroom, you open up your phone, you sit down to eat, you play a YouTube video. Right, I'm not innocent of this either. I'm not speaking above at all. But anytime we have a minute alone, bam, Instagram Reels, TikTok, social media. And David Hawkins writes, and this is a little harsh, so brace yourselves. He says, people are desperate to stay unconscious. We observe how often people flick on the television set the minute they enter a room and then walk around in a dreamlike state, constantly being programmed by the data poured into them. People are terrified of facing themselves. They dread even a moment of aloneness. Thus, the constant frantic activities, the endless socializing, talking, texting, reading, music playing, working, traveling, sightseeing, shopping, overeating, gambling, movie going, pill taking, drug using, and cocktail partying. Guys, this hit me really hard, but I mean, it's so true. It's everywhere. In college, you don't get a moment alone, and you don't have to. But I knew there was some truth to this when I read it. So, I mean, I look back on my own story. I grew a dependency on alcohol for a few months to help me avoid facing my inner emotions. David Hawkins was right. And although there are times where these methods can be used intentionally to help us decrease the load of an emotional crisis, overall they are faulty and ineffective and energy consuming. Each of them requires an increasing amount of energy to maintain. Literally, enormous amounts of energy are required to keep feelings out of our conscious awareness. And as more and more of our energy goes to suppressing, repressing, expressing, and avoiding, well, we lose energy for everything, such as creativity, spirituality, interest in others. This halts our growth and ultimately leads to the development of illness, disease, aging, and premature death. We also become more selfish. We cause more harm in our interpersonal relationships. But most of all, he writes, the effect is the inability to truly love and trust another person, which results in emotional isolation and self hatred. Guys, this is a very serious, serious matter. And like I was thinking, I'm sure you're thinking, okay, we get it. Oh, we don't know how to deal with our feelings. Tell us, what should we do? What do we do? What's the better way? What's the answer, right? That's where I was at this point. And it's actually really quite simpler than one would expect the answer to be. And it's called letting go. It's the title of the book. So, what does that mean? Well, let me read it from his words himself because he says it best, and then I will break it down for you. Letting go involves being aware of a feeling, letting it come up, staying with it, and letting it run its course without wanting to make it different or do anything about it. It means simply to let the feeling be there and to focus on letting out the energy behind it. Put simply, letting go means to allow a feeling to come up without resistance or judgment, and an understanding that it is temporary, fleeting, and not the truth of who you are. If you resist a feeling, you will keep that feeling going. what you resist persists, and a feeling that is not resisted will disappear as the energy behind it dissipates. One very important note when it comes to this process is that you should ignore all thoughts. David Hawkins writes, "Focus on the feeling itself, not on the thoughts. Thoughts are endless and self-reinforcing, and they only breed more thoughts. Thoughts are merely rationalizations of the mind to try and explain the presence of the feeling. There will always be more thoughts if you focus on thoughts. They are literally endless, and one feeling can bring up thousands of thoughts. But if you focus on that feeling behind the thought, you can let all of them go. You can release all that energy without even looking at the thoughts, because the thoughts are just, again, rationalizations for trying to explain. They're trying to alert you. But we live in a modern world and we come from a not modern world, so don't listen to your thoughts. Oh my god, it's freezing. As you guys begin to practice letting go, staying with a feeling as it comes up, letting it come, not being judgmental towards it, and just allowing it to pass, you will begin to realize a truth, which is that feelings come and go, and eventually you realize that you are not your feelings, but that the real you is merely witnessing them. The you that is observing and is aware of what is happening always stays the same. I always love the analogy of the wave and the shore, right? Our feelings, our thoughts, our experiences are like waves. And when you think of the nature of a wave, right? Waves are temporary. They come and they go. It might be a little wave, might be high tide, might be a full-blown tsunami. However, they always come and go. They're always temporary. They're always fleeting. We, on the other hand, our true selves are like the shore. The shore is unchanging. It's eternal. The shore doesn't chase after waves. It doesn't try to stop waves. It simply just observes them as they come, no matter what the wave looks like. The moment you attempt to resist a wave, whether through judging it, shaming it, questioning it, that's where suffering begins. At the end of the day, you cannot avoid emotional pain. It's part of the human experience. And I would say, unfortunately, but without pain, we wouldn't be able to realize love, its duality, and we have to be open to all of it. You can, on the other hand, avoid suffering, because suffering is a result of trying to chase the wave, stop the wave, change the wave, analyze the wave, right? When you let that wave come and go and just be whatever that wave is, there is no suffering. There is pain, but pain is temporary. Suffering is created by us. You will soon realize when you start practicing this that your feelings are not as scary as they seem, and you do, in fact, have the capacity to hold them, to allow them to pass through. Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now says it best. He writes, "The pain body may seem to you like a dangerous monster that you cannot bear to look at, but I assure you that it is an insubstantial phantom that cannot prevail against the power of your presence." Once you master the skill of non-judgmentally allowing your feelings to come up and allowing them to dissipate, your life will change. Your perception of the world and of yourself will change for the better, and you will begin to feel happier, more loving, lighter, and more easygoing. This is because fear of life is really the fear of emotions. It is not the facts that we fear, but our feelings about them. Once you realize you can handle your emotions, you realize that you can make it through just about anything. You will realize that it is safe to open your heart and to allow love back into your life. And I promise you can handle them. I'm rooting for you guys. I'm sending you all my love. You are so much stronger than you realize. You've made it through every single wave up to this point, and you will continue to make it through them. They are not you. They are passing, they're fleeting. So yeah, if this was helpful to you, I'd love if you'd leave a comment, maybe what you learned or what you thought, or if you disagree. It really helps, or if you have any questions, because it really helps me understand you guys better, and I want to make content that helps you guys. So I'm sending you guys all my love. Mwah! I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.